For the next case, we're going to work backwards. We're going to look here. Let's say I have x plus 10x minus 3. First term, x squared. Our outside term, a positive x times a negative 3 gets us a negative 3x. Our inside, positive 10x. And our last term will be negative 30. End up with x squared plus 7x minus 30. Now notice here we have a positive here and a negative here, and we end up with a positive and a negative. Doesn't always work the way we think it's going to work. We don't know which one is going to be positive and which one is going to be negative. But we know that one has to be positive and one has to be negative because let's clean that up. Because a positive times a negative will give us a negative, okay? And this one can vary because if the larger value of your binomial is positive, then your second term will be positive. If the larger term of your binomial is negative, then this term will be negative. And essentially what you have to do in this instance, you have to say the same thing. What two numbers, when I multiply them together, will give me a negative 30, but when I add them together, will give me a positive 7. And in this instance, we have a positive and a negative number. Let's look at something different. Let's say we had x minus 9 times x plus 4, okay? That'll be x squared our first term. Our outside term is going to be plus 4x. Our inside term is going to be negative 9x. And our last term is going to be negative 36. That's going to give us x squared. If you're standing at the 4 on the number line, you take 9 steps back. You're going to end up with negative 5x and minus 36. So you notice here, whereas we had a positive negative here, this time we have a negative negative. And that's because we know that our larger number here is a negative number, which means that the sum of the inside and the outside will be negative. So whenever you are factoring trinomials, you have to always ask yourself, what two numbers, positive or negative, when I multiply them together will give me this, positive or negative, and when I add them together will give me this term, positive or negative. This is factoring trinomials. Now next we're going to get into something a little bit more complicated when you have a value in front of the quadratic or the leading term, the x squared.